Hey, how the devil. Oh, yeah. So, any road. I've had to move things around a little bit because I'm still having work done on the house. I don't know if anybody you've seen my post last week. I'm having the downstairs bog made, or if you'd like to call it, a toilet, or a washroom, a water closet, whatever, downstairs bog. So now, when it's finished, I won't have to go upstairs for a poop. I can just do it downstairs. You can't beat a downstairs poop. Oh! Anyway, right? So that's that. The workmen are off today. They're not working today, so no banging and drilling. So I can make a video. I thought I've got to get a video in. Now, a few weeks back, I did a few modifications to my Wharfedale 220 speakers. I put some spaces in at the bottom here to open up that, because it's a downward firing base port. Put some spaces in. On the back there, I removed the binding plates, the jumper plates, sorry, and I put in some 12 gauge oxygen-free copper cable. And I thought it was an improvement. Some people disagreed, but obviously, you know, you do have YouTube compression, okay? But I thought it didn't make a difference. So, and then in that comment section, a few people gave me some great ideas for another video. So I do read the comment section and I really appreciate some of the comments. And I go, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So all these ideas I got for today's video have come from that comment section. So thank you very much. Do love my audience. Thank you. Now, so what am I going to do? Right, here we go. So what I've got, if you watched the last video, some person pointed out that the base port, the downward firing base port, is nothing in it. It's just wood. And so obviously it's got a sharp edge going around it. There's a little bit of sponge in there. I think that's to cut down on the turbulence of the airflow coming out. But that sponge isn't going to do much. And the air is flowing out over sharp edges with no base port tube in it. So someone said, oh, it'd be much better if it were a base port tube. So I thought, let's try it. So I measured the diameter of the hole. It's 35 mil. So these should, I hope I've got the right one. Otherwise this video is a wash really. So I'm going to try and fit these base port tubes into the base port in this and see if that makes a difference. Also, if you notice on these tubes, these base ports, they've got little indentations. Now, I know some speaker manufacturers out there do use that on their base ports, and they go, why do they use that? Well, apparently it cuts down turbulence. It gives a smoother airflow over the surface as it comes out. Now, there's no evidence in the hi-fi world to say, no measurements or anything like that to say, well, that's true or not. But I can see the reasoning behind it, because golf balls. Oh, I'm not insulting you, all right? If you look at a golf ball, it's got indentations in it. So brief history on golf balls. I won't keep it short. So golf balls used to be smooth, right? No indentations on them, no little pockmark things on them, right? And the people who were playing golf were hitting the balls, and after a few months of using them, they found they were going further. And that's because they were denting the ball. And these little dents made the airflow over them better. So what they decided to do was make a golf ball with little dents in them, little indentations. And apparently what that does then, I'll put a picture here somewhere I found on the internet, the air flows over it much smoother, and a golf ball with little marks on it goes twice as far as a golf ball that's smooth. So you can see the reasoning behind it. So having these little marks on the base port potentially could make the air flow smoother over the base port. So there you go. So we're going to try and fit them later. Ooh. Also, someone mentioned they had isolation pads on. They bought some isolation pads, and I thought, do you know what, that makes sense. You really need isolation pads if you've got a setup like this. Now, ideally, you're better off having them on speaker stands, but sometimes you just can't do that. You haven't got the room or whatever. So if you do have them on a cabinet or something like this, you need to isolate this speaker from the surface, or they do call it decoupling. You need to decouple the speaker from the surface it's on. So I've bought these isolation feet, There you go. Now I bought 20mm ones, and on reflection, possibly I should have bought 40mm. There will be a link down in the description below where you can get these. But I think 20mm should be sufficient for these size speakers. Obviously, the bigger the speaker, the bigger the isolation pad you need, really. But I'm going to put these on, and then what I'm going to do is do a sound test of each time. So I'll do the isolation pads, do a sound comparison before and after, put on these bass port tubes, see if there's a difference before and after. But before I go on to that, put these away, right? Before I go on to that, now I think it was, someone mentioned it in the comments section, but I had seen it previously on GR Research. Now, the guy, I can't remember the guy's name on GR Research. He does all measurements and speaker modifications. He changes everything in them. But he was doing the 225s, the slightly bigger version of this model. And he said with the speaker grills on, they measured terribly. But with the speaker grills off, they give a much smoother frequency response right across the range. And I'll put the pictures here, you can see the before and after. So, the easiest way you can modify this speaker is take the grills off. Okay? So, what he said was, which was, I can understand what he was saying, is that it's a little ridge around here, and that goes over the speaker, and basically what it does is this. It does this to the speaker. Hello, how are you? Yes, that's what it does. You can see the difference between my voice now and now. So I can really see how that works. So this little ridge is causing that bump in the frequency response. So taking them off should make a big difference. Anyway, so what I've done a little sound test, a little sound clip for you. Okay, love my sound clips. Oh, right, before and after. So with the speaker grills on and the speaker grills off. And after that, we'll have a go at putting the isolation feet on and sticking in those bass port tubes. Oh, have a listen to this. So, what do you think of that? There was a difference, definitely. For me, I thought that it really opened up the mid-range, and the trebles were much cleaner. So I can definitely see what he was saying about having the speaker grills off. It's a shame they would design a speaker. This is an entry-level speaker, but they designed it very well. It sounds pretty good considering, you know, the internal parts are probably not that expensive. They did a good job. But the problem is, why would they make them speaker grills like that? Just leave off that ridge there. I wonder if there's a way you can grind that down. I wonder if that will work. Because the problem is, I got kids, man, and they go, pfft, pfft, pfft. What's that? Bleh. Okay, so I've got to keep them on. So I've got to take them on and off every time I use them. So that's a bit of a pain in the neck. Anyway, there definitely was a difference for me. Let me know if you heard a difference in the comment section. Right, let's get these speakers on the kitchen table and take the bottoms off and fit those bass ports. Ooh. Okay, so I've got my furry blanket. Oh, furry blanket. I've also got my furry dressing gown. Oh, furry dressing gown. Right, so before we do the base ports, let's put on the isolation feet first. These isolation pads. Now, you can do them two ways, really. You could just put a bit of blue tack on there, bit of blue tack, and stick it on. And then you can reuse them then, as long as you place them, you know, properly, and you want to keep them in one place. The blue tack should hold them in place and just leave them on there. And then if you ever want to take them off and reuse them for another set of speakers, you can. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to peel it off and stick them on. But obviously, you can see it's a little bit dusty on underneath there. I'm going to give them a quick clean so it sticks. Right, nice and clean now, or as clean as I can get them. And they've dried off. I don't want it to have it wet, otherwise they won't stick either. So obviously now I don't want to, ideally that's where I want to stick them, over there. But I don't want to cover the screws up because I'll have to take these off again. And obviously it's only going to be sticking around the outside. It's not a real good fixing, I don't think. I want to kind of, and I could put them there, like that maybe. And then it just seems a little bit too narrow. Seems a bit too narrow that way. Or I could put them here. Like that. But it seems like too much of a gap between there and there. I don't know. I mean, that could work. Anyway, so I come up with a cunning plan. I don't know whether it'll make any difference or not. Try and even it out a bit. And I put one there and one there. One there, one there. And one there and one there. In that configuration, like that. So it kind of evens it out a bit. I don't know whether it'll make any difference or not. I don't know. But there we are. Let's get them on. Okay, so they're done now. Now, hopefully what this will do is, like I said before, decouple this from the cabinet I got them on and stop any vibration transferring from the speaker to the cabinet, causing any unwanted resonance or sounds. Right, now I've done this, before I do the bass ports, let's do a sound test before and after. Oh. And there you go. So what do you think? Do you think the isolation feet made a difference? I definitely thought there was. I think it made the speaker a little bit more coherent, a little bit more detailed. It wasn't so muddled. Now, I have to say, these differences I'm showing here are quite subtle. So if you're listening to these sound comparisons on a phone or a tablet or even a laptop, using laptop speakers, you're not really going to hear the differences. So it's pointless. You know, you're better off listening to them through decent speakers or a decent system, or at least headphones. So, you know, don't put it in the comments, hey, you can't hear a difference, what's the point of these sound tests? Anyway, but I definitely thought there was a difference. So we've already improved them now by taking the grills off, and improved them again, I think, by putting the isolation feet on. Now, will those bass ports make a difference? Anyway, let's get my furry blanket out. Not Alexa.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
I bet you're not. Shut up. Right. Let's get my furry blanket out, get it on the table, undo the bottoms here and stick them base port tubes in, and see if they make a difference with my sound test. Okay, time to fit the base port. Ooh, right, just removed 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's got a slot in there. Now, there is a bit of sponge in there, just slot it in. Actually, that narrows down the base port. I think it's supposed to be in there to try and stop the turbulence, but I don't think it's going to be as good as one of them. So we get rid of that. And hopefully this is going to fit in. Now, it looks like it's going to fit in. If you look at these, can you see that there? It's got some ridges, if I could say it, ridges around here. So hopefully it'll just push in and sit in there nice and tight, so I don't have to glue it, okay? So let's give it a shove. Oh, that's not fit. That is very tight. Okay, I've got it in. I had to take it off here and put it on a chair to really shove it down. It's in there really tight, so I'm not going to need any glue. So they do fit, but you've really got to push down on it to get it in there. Hopefully it hasn't damaged anything inside. Right, let's get that off, do that one, and then we'll do a sound test before and after. God, blimey. Wow, that to me was the biggest difference of all. That made a hell of a difference. I'm not sure if you could hear it over YouTube, but wow, really improved the bass response. I wouldn't say it went any deeper, but what you did get was a much more tighter, punchier, coherent bass. If you go back and listen to it again, listen to that double bass, dum 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 dum, right? And with the new bass ports, the bass port tubes in, is way more clearer, really stands out. Whereas without the bass port tubes in, it kind of got lost in the bass. The bass is just more detailed. I think also as well, it opened up the speaker a little bit. Absolutely, I couldn't believe the difference. I was quite astonished. Oh, that's me being astonished, that is. Or I could be like this. Either way, I'm astonished. Anyway, that really improved the sound of them. And I think I've got a very decent speaker now. So anyway, with that being said, how much have I spent on all these modifications? Well, all in all, with taking the speaker grills off, it cost nothing. Then I added the spacers, the isolation feet, the wires on the back, which I took off. I had speaker wire lying around, so that didn't cost me anything. You're looking at what, that much wire, 5 centimeters, 2 inches, around there, not much at all. So that didn't cost me anything. And then the bass port tubes, I think were 12 quid. So 12, I think the spacers were 8, 20, and I think the isolation pads were about 10, 12. So all in all, I'm all in for about 30 quid. That's not bad. It's still pretty cheap, isn't it? And I think I've improved the sound of them quite a bit, quite substantially. So I think it's 30 quid well spent. And also as well, this is the fun about hi-fi, right? For me, a lot of people are happy to just get their speakers, stick them on and listen to them. I love having a dabble. I love getting stuck in and doing things and tweaking things. That's the fun of it for me. Getting a little bit of better, even if it's just eking out the best sound you can out of a pair of speakers. Anything you can do, you know, that's on the cheap. I don't want to spend hundreds of pounds on new crossover components and things like that, but that's when you get more into it. But these little cheap sort of, you know, mods, they work. And I think I've got a much better sounding speaker. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think the 30 quid was worth it? Or do you think I'm off my nut? Anyway, I'll catch you in the next one.